So I'm also not so much prepared for this today. It's a really big subject, but nice topic. I think we'll have a little discussion. All right, we're all there. So we'll go ahead and start. I'm going to turn on the recording button. Krishna Kond, right, Bo?
Yes.
If you want to record this, we're starting. Gauragraganyagana gotra goloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyata Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemana Gauranga Hridaya Dariya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Namure Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya, Prema Bidana Parama Pumata, Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya, Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishi Yustad Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. If you can, I appreciate, thank you Leela Purushottam. I'd like to be able to see the devotees read with that. I think you're also streaming live, aren't you? Is it you? Your nose looks a little big. But Tirthakar and Brinda Sundar, if you can, it's nice to be able to see everybody. That's one thing, the GBC SBT program, they have this software, you can't see anybody. And sometimes I'm sitting in a room and Bhubaneswar, there's nobody there, and it's really depressing. You can't see anybody. So let's go on with our verse today. We finished that commentary attributed to Srila Jiva Goswami, but I feel obliged to go over one of the lines of this verse, which I consider to be very, very important. And I think we'll do that today, and probably we'll have to do it again in another session too. So we can read the Sanskrit here together. Anarpita chirim chirat karuna avatirna kalo samarpaitam manujvala rasam swabhakti shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipitaha Sada Hridaya Kandare Swaratuva Sachinandanaha. Lila Purushottam, do you want to read the translation, please?
May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, He has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love.
So today I'd like to speak something about the second line, Samarpayitam Anutvada Ujjvala Rasa Swabhakti Sriyam, which Srila Prabhupada basically translates here as that he's bestowed the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. But it has a lot of deep purport to it. So let me stop the screen save there. Hare Krishna. My computer there. There it is. Okay. Hare Krishna Jai Gaur. Hare Krishna Jai Gaur, are you there? If you're there, please turn on your video. It'd be very helpful for us. So, Samarpayitam, this is what he's bestowing. And this is a very, very important description from Srila Rupa Goswami, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving this unnata, ujjvala rasam, swabhakti shriyam. He's giving this something which is unnata, which means it's very, very high, it's very, very elevated thing, something which we can understand is going to be very difficult for most people to understand. Unnata. It's ujjvala rasa, or it's the conjugal mellow. It's the essence of that conjugal mellow. And it's swabhakti shriyam. Swabhakti, swa means his own, and bhakti means devotional service, Prabhupada generally translates devotion. It's swabhakti, his own bhakti, which is a shriya, this treasure. So what is the very, very deep meaning of this? Again, Prabhupada says the most elevated mellow, he's giving the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So one of the meanings of Shriya is something which is effulgent. It's sandipita. It's lighted up. It's Shriyam, that thing which is endowed with Shri. Shri means auspicious. Shri means a treasure. Shri means something very valuable. Shri is a word for Lakshmi. Devi. Shri is a word for Srimati Radharani. So what this verse is saying is that Mahaprabhu Samarpayitam, he's given this thing which is unnata ujjvala rasa swabhakti shriyam. It's something which anarpita chiryam cirat. It hasn't been given in a long, long time. What is that thing? It's an ujjvala rasa swabhakti shriyam. It's the essence of ujjvala rasa. It's his own bhakti, the treasure of his own bhakti. What is the very deep meaning of this? This is the love of Srimati Radharani, which hasn't been given in such a long, long time. Srimati Radharani's unnata ujjvala rasa, swabhakti shriya, the essence of that. This is one meaning of it. And we'll try to explore a little further in it as well. That he's coming for the first time in such a long time, anarpita chirim chirat. For such a long, long time, this thing has not been given. The mood of Srimati Radharani. There's so many other different incarnations who've come, but Srila Prabhupada translates here in the verse, he says that he's appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before. It's not that it's never been offered before, but anarpita hasn't been given chirim chirat in a long, long time, since the last advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it's the mood of Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, who's come in the mood of Radha. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this verse, Mahaprabhu spurtim vina hari lila rasa savadam anupapatir iti bhavaha. That without the mercy of Mahaprabhu, you can't describe the pastimes of Sri Krishna. And therefore, Rupa Goswami describes, Yo yusmakam hridaya rupa guhayam sachinandano hari pakshi simha spiratu. That may Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that son of Mother Sachi, who's just like Hari. Hari means a lion also, who kills all the different kills all the different elephants of desire. Sparatu, may that personality be awakened in everyone's heart. Because by his merciful blessings, you can understand the pastimes of Krishna. So, why has the Lord appeared? In answer to this question, the verse says that he's appeared to Samarpayitam, to bestow the wealth of his own bhakti, so bhakti shriyam. That is the highest variety of madhurja rasa, unato ujjvala rasam. It was something which wasn't offered previously, anarpita chiram. And he came to give that to persons who didn't have any other means of perfection and are extremely fallen. And therefore, he's described as Uttama Adama Kichina Bachila. He's the most munificent. If you say that someone is so very, very kind, this guy is so kind, he's given money to everyone, you say, well, how much money has he given? Well, he's given 5 cents to everyone that he's met. You might not be very impressed with that. But if I tell you that he's given $10,000 or $1 million to every person that he's met, then you're, wow, that's really, really amazing. I want to meet that person. So when we say that Mahaprabhu's come to give something, we have to understand what he's come to give. And Rupa Goswami gives some indication. He says, Purata Sundara Duti, that he has this complexion which is like molten gold, which is Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Tapta Kanchana Gauranga. Shrimati Radharani has that complexion. And that complexion, Shrimati Radharani is Prema Sarup. She's the personified essence of Prem. And therefore her color is also the color of Prem, molten gold. And that's the color of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So Rupa Goswami is describing in kind of a little hidden bit of way by stating, he's not mentioning Radharani directly, but indirectly by saying Swabhakti Shriyam, by saying Parata Sundara Duti, he's giving us some indication that this verse is really all about Srimati Radharani. So many, many things. So what is that Swabhakti Shriyam? We can understand this in several different ways, that he's come to taste the mood of Srimati Radharani. But how has he come to taste the mood of Srimati Radharani? And when we say Samarpayitam, that he's giving that mood, does that mean that everybody's getting the same mood as Srimati Radharani? We may have some doubt about that, because Radharani, her mood is so high. And as we've commented previously, Krishna is known as Asamordva. Asamordva means someone who no one is equal to and no one is greater than. So Krishna is Asamordva because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in a similar way, Srimati Radharani, she's also Asamordva. No one is equal to her, no one is greater than her. So this doubt comes to our mind that if Rupa Goswami says Samarpayitam, that Mahaprabhu is giving this thing, does it mean that he's giving the same mood as Srimati Radharani? When he says Swabhakti Shriyam, we get some indication that it's Swabhakti, it's his own devotion, Shriya, this treasure. In other words, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming paradoxically as his own devotee. I don't know anywhere in any kind of esoteric writings in the Islamic writings or Jewish writings or Christian writings, and they have different traditions which are very, very rasik in their way. I've never heard anywhere where it describes that God came to worship himself. What an incredible conception. And so what is being described here is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's coming to bestow this bhakti of his own service, this bhakti of his own mood, which is a shriya. This is the treasure that he's come to give. And he's not doing that alone. He's coming with different primary servants. And who are those servants? Rupa Manjari is one of them. And there's 6 primary servants in this regard. The 8 different manjaris in this regard, 8 different manjaris. And we'll just say a few words about that because this verse really is talking about manjari bhav. Manjari bhav means when, in a kind of nutshell kind of way, to say that those devotees who are gopis, who have this unnata ujjvala rasa, it's not just ujjvala rasa, but it's unnata ujjvala rasa. Ujjvala rasa means the mood of the gopis, or conjugal mellow, but it's not just the mood of the gopis, this is unnata ujjvala rasa. Why is it unnata? Because it's swabhakti shriya. It's his own, the treasure of his own service, therefore it's the most elevated unnata conjugal mellow. Those personalities are known in our line as manjaris. And that manjari bhav is the essence of our line. And I can hear some people saying right now, this is a very, very high thing. I'm not going to go in a very deep esoteric way on this, at least at this point. But we should know something about this. If you're going to study mathematics and you want to become a professor, you have to understand what is higher mathematics. And if you don't understand anything about that, then how are you going to become a professor? How are you going to really understand that subject matter? Let's see here. Is there some? Yeah, Ujjvala Rasige, we're having a live session today. Thank you, Jaguar. Hare Krishna. My WhatsApp is dinged. So we should understand something about it. And it doesn't mean that we're sahajiyas. It's really a horrible thing. Sometimes devotees, they say all Babajis are sahajiyas. That's like saying all Americans are bad or all Russians are bad. What a ridiculous, ignorant kind of statement to make. Gorky Shudas Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, they were Babajis in our line. Bhaktivinoda Thakur took Babaji Vesh. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur lived like a Babaji for many years before he gave himself sannyas. It's not that being a Babaji is bad. Similarly, it's not that Manjari Bhav is an illegal subject, but we should understand something about it. And that Manjari Bhav is characterized, Raghunath Das Goswami describes, says that they have no desire for their own pleasure, rather they're desiring the pleasure of Krishna and especially the pleasure of Radha. They worship Krishna just because Radharani likes him. That's their particular mood. And Krishna has 16 different Shaktis. And according to the Dhyan Chandra Goswami's Padati, the Gaur Govinda Smarana Archana Padati, which is a foundational book in our line, often quoted book by our acharyas, that those 16 Shaktis that Krishna has are present in Vrindavan. When Krishna is purna or complete, he manifests himself in Dwarka, but in Dwarka he only has 14 Shaktis. When he's Purnatara, more complete, he manifests in Mathura, and he has 15 Shaktis. When he's Purnatama, Purna Uttama, then he manifests in Vrindavan, and he has 16 full Shaktis. And the 16 full Shaktis are manifested as personalities, as the Astasakis and the Astamanjaris. And they're different Shaktis of the Lord. And when we say Shakti, there's Shakti and Shaktiman. Shaktiman is the possessor of Shakti. And Shakti is that potency of the Lord who acts in a way to serve the Lord for a particular reason, in a particular mood. When the Lord comes as Maryada Purushottam, Bhagavan Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra, who's the embodiment of Vedic Maryada, or following proper etiquette and rules and regulations, then that Shakti of the Lord appears as Sita Devi. And when the Lord appears in his pastimes in Dwarka as Dwarkadish, then those Mahishis, the Gopis, the Shaktis, they come as those Mahishis or queens in Dwarka. In each different Leela the Lord appears, and they appear in a different way according to the particular mood. But when in his form of Swayam Rup Govinda, Krishna, in his original form, they're gopis in Vrindavan. So there's 6 8 Astamanjaris, and I'd like to just mention them very briefly here and introduce you how they fit into Gaura Lila. There's Rupa Manjari, and in Gaura Lila, she's Rupa Goswami. Is Rati Manjari. Sometimes some devotees call her Tulsi Manjari. And in Kali Yuga and Gaura Lila, she's known as Raghunath Das Goswami. There's Labanga Manjari, and in Gaura Lila, Labanga Manjari is known as Sanatana Goswami. There's Rasa Manjari, and in Gaura Lila, she's Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. There's Guna Manjari, in Gaura Lila, she's Gopal Bhatta Goswami. There's Manjulali Manjari, and she's also sometimes known as Leela Manjari. In Gaura Lila, she's Lokanath Goswami. There's Vilas Manjari. In Gaura Lila, she's Jiva Goswami. And there's Kosturi Manjari. And in Kali Yuga and Gaura Lila, she's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So these 6 Goswamis, they understand the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the most deep, intimate way. And this is the nature of the Manjaris. The gopis, or they're also known sometimes as Saki. Saki is a feminine term. We have Saki and Saka. Saka means a friend. Saki is a feminine friend. And they're intimate friends of Srimati Radharani. But sometimes there's some things Srimati Radharani becomes a little shy about expressing before those gopis, because they may tease her, they may make fun of her in a way. And so there's some things she doesn't like to express before them. But then there's the Astamanjaris. And these Manjaris, these girls are younger. They're about 12, 13 years of age. And they're even more intimate with Srimati Radharani than the Sakis are, because they're little girls. And they're not mixing with Krishna. The mood of the Manjaris is they don't want Krishna to touch them. And sometimes there's some exceptions to that, but the exceptions are just that, they're exceptions. But the general rule is that those Manjaris, they don't like to interact with Krishna in kind of any erotic kind of way. They just want to serve. And that's the mood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming to give, and our 6 Goswamis. And the amazing thing is, this verse is describing it, Samarpayitam. This is what he's coming to give. It's this Unnata Ujjvala rasa, not just Ujjvala rasa, the conjugal mellow, but Unnata, the very elevated, meaning more the very, very intimate conjugal mellow, which is a Swabhakti Shriyam, this mood of the Saki Manjaris. And this is what all of our Goswamis, their particular mood is, and what we aspire for. So in our next session, I'd like to give some examples of that from the life of Shyamananda Prabhu, and also discuss the position of Giriraj Govardhan in that way, in that regard. Some of you are familiar, I think, with our article that we wrote about Giriraj, but if you're not, we'd like to express some thoughts like that about him. So I promised myself that I would finish before half an hour, and I did it. And we have just a few minutes, and so if any of you want to try to share any of your expertise on the subject matter, or any reflections, anything that may be some inspiration, anything for you. Leela Purushottam is jumping up and down.
I'll just use these few seconds to lobby for a detailed discussion on, in that connection, on Babula Surati, and how do we understand that although we state that they don't desire conjugal pleasure with the Lord, that their staibhav is in Madhurya Rasa.
Yeah, their staibhav is in Madhurya Rasa, because even though they don't desire union with the Lord, because they're so intimate, they desire that union between Radha and Krishna, and they're just living for that, to bring Radha and Krishna together. Narottam Das Thakur describes their mood in his famous song, Radha Krishna Pranamur Yugala Kishore, Jivane Marani Gati Ar Nahi More, that in life or in death, I may live, I may die, but my business is to bring Radha and Krishna together. And he's saying that in the mood of the Manjari. So that's Madhurya Ras. But it's a little different mood Sometimes, just to touch on some of the exceptions, which sometimes devotees really give a lot of, I think, undue attention to, frankly, because they're exceptions. But sometimes Shrimati Radharani, she wants to favor one of the gopis, and so she pushes that gopi into a dark room with Krishna, and Krishna begins to touch that gopi in a very intimate kind of way or something. And that kind of thing goes on because Shrimati Radha, it's a kind of joke. There's some husha there, there's some joking going on where Radharani's teasing Krishna, you're a child abuser. You're taking advantage of these young girls, but also Radharani's pushing those young gopis in that way too. And that again is just kind of an exception. That's just touching on it. We can try to say something more about Bhavalasa later on. It's a big subject, as you know. Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else? Krishna Kun has some reflection. She's here.
I thought that they are called to be in Madhurya Rasa because they are serving Shrimati Radharani. They feel the same as Shrimati Radharani does.
Yeah.
Just as the leaves of the plant feel the same as the whole plant.
Rupa Goswami gives that example. Yes. A manjari, we have tulsi manjaris, and they're the flowers on the plant. And when you move that plant, when you pluck the leaf, the manjaris or the leaves, they feel the same thing. In the same way, we can't, Shrimati Radharani's asamurdva, we can't experience her mood, but the manjaris, especially, they experience something very, very similar to that. So I want to stop there. If anybody else has any quick reflection, somebody's just burning to say something. Govinda Vallabha, you're here too. Hare Krishna. Nice to see you. Just came in at the last minute. We're having a very short session tonight because I've got a lot of things on my plate today. I've got to stop. Tirthakar Prabhu, do you want to share something?
I wanted to ask, in the beginning you were mentioning that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving something unique, and it is for a long time which was not given. I mean, you explained that point. And I remember that I think Laghu Bhagavatamrita is explained that in previous Kali Yuga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Shaktavesh avatar, if I remember correctly. Is he giving also Madhura Ras or just general preaching of let's say Vaikuntha level achieving spiritual world?
Every Kali Yuga, there's the Yuga Dharma is Nam Sankirtan. But only in this particular Dibya Kali Yuga, this very special Dibya, the special Kali Yuga, is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving Premanam Sankirtan because he's coming in the mood of Shrimati Radharani. And so that's why also it's an Arpita Chidim Chidat. It's something which hasn't been given in a long, long time, meaning like that. Was that okay?
Yeah, so that means after this 1,000 yugas, that therefore it's considered that it is like,
yeah, I think it's one day of Lord Brahma. It's a long, long time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have time to go over everybody, but if anybody else is jumping up and down and wants to share something. Jaguar, you're jumping up and down now? Govinda Sundari? Okay.
I had the same thought as Krishna Kund. I was thinking about that example you give with the tree and the leaves shaking, and in relationship to Bhakti Shriyam, that that's what is being given is what.
So it makes it so special. An interesting point also, which is really controversial, right? We like controversy. Nothing wrong with controversy. Nothing wrong with controversy is when you want to shove your opinion down someone else's throat and insist that your understanding is absolute. So I'm not going to do that right now. But there's a controversy about the Swarupa of the Jiva. And this is an interesting verse to contemplate in that regard, because it's saying that Samarpaitam Mahaprabhu was giving. What is he giving? Unnata ujjvala rasa bhakti shriyam. He's giving this manjari bhav. So if he's giving that, that would sound like then that it's something you didn't have before, right? Why make a point about giving something if you didn't already have it? So some people use this verse, they see this verse in that way. I'm just championing both sides. I'm not going to say which is right or which is wrong. But there's another perspective also, which says that rasa is innate within the jiva, not that it's already there, but in the sense that the potentiality is there for it. And I give an example sometimes of a baby lion. If you separate a baby lion from its mother at birth, and you stick the baby lion with a group of sheep, and the sheep adopt it, and the baby lion grows up going bah like a sheep and eating grass, you can point to that baby lion, even though it's never eaten meat in its life, it's just eaten grass, and it thinks it's a sheep. You can point at that lion and say, that's a man eater, that's a meat eater, even though it's never tasted flesh before, because the potentiality is there. And I've marked that in both sides of this discussion. And the big thing that I get from this discussion in general, first of all, it's not a bad discussion. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Siddhanta Bodha Yachite na koro alas. We were speaking about this tonight. Alas means to be lazy. We shouldn't be lazy. We should consider these different things. That's fine. But what becomes disturbing is when we want to insist that I have an understanding about something, which is such a high topic that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that unless you're a self-realized soul, you can't understand this. So that doesn't mean we can't discuss it. It doesn't mean there's no benefit for discussing it. But I gave the example today that it'd be like me giving a class on quantum mechanics. I've heard that word before. Quantum mechanics. I can't even exactly tell you what quantum mechanics is. I know it's some branch of physics. That's about all I can say about it. And it's really far out and really high. It has no meaning for me to try to speak about that. But at the same time, it's not that there's no benefit for me to hear about quantum mechanics. As a student, that's beneficial. But it's ridiculous and foolish for me to try to champion a particular understanding of it unless I'm a professor in that field. And when we're talking about spiritual knowledge, then the standard of Raja Vidya, the topmost knowledge, which is Raja Guhya, the most confidential, is Pratyaksavagamam. It should be realized. So what is the point of discussing it if it's not realized on my part? And then even worse, what's the point of discussing it in a public forum before a whole bunch of unqualified people and everybody just argues about it? The only result is just something very, very obnoxious. So, but it's not a bad subject. But if we have the good fortune, today we had some nice discussion with Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj about this. If we have some opportunity to discuss in a Vada discussion, a mode of goodness, then it's a very interesting topic. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. And I really should stop because I'm 5 minutes over my time and I got some things to do. So really, thank you all very much for your Sangha. And Govinda Vallabhi came a little late. Natalia, I'm sorry. We'll have a recording this if you want to hear it. There's some interesting things. Ujjvala Rasa, you came a little late. I'll post it. It's on YouTube already. You can listen again if you like. And next week, I'm planning on having our Katha at the same time, same day, which will be the 15th. I'm a little, there's a chance we might not be able to do it. I'll tell you now, we may shift it to Thursday or something because we're traveling on the 14th. I'll be arriving late in the day and I'll probably be really exhausted on the 15th, but I don't see why we can't do it. It's my plan. Krishna Kun's saying we should be able to do it. So. So anyway, thank you all so much. Nice to see everybody here. Ujjvala Rasa, it's your fault that we gave this class tonight, this little talk.
Pranams to you, Prabhu. I'll let you go. Pranams to all the devotees. I'll text in the group, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa durubhishcha, kripa sindhu bheva cha patita